and makes perhaps your journey a little smoother. And so I am going to share my screen. I just thought you don't really just want to look at my face, and so we'll give you some other pictures to look at. I'm going to see how this works. How is that showing up?
We can see it.
Yeah. You can see it? Okay. Okay, so what I have here on the first slide is that's the organization that I started and I run right now. It's called Building Brave. It is an online community of women, and our mission is to connect, inspire, and empower women. And our tagline is, in community, we thrive. Okay, that was another computer. Hopefully we'll turn that one off. And so the part of my journey I'm going to talk about started about 7 years ago. And so this picture is at a press conference in a little park in Milwaukee called Cathedral Square. And it was the first big press conference that I gave after I announced that I was going to run for governor of Wisconsin. And I grew up believing that if I worked hard, I could do anything. But at this point, I was a business person, not a politician. And the thought of standing up there and telling people why I was the best possible person to be governor of this amazing state was pretty scary. So as we pulled up to the park, I looked into it and I saw this enormous gaggle of cameras and reporters. And I looked down and I was just physically shaking. I don't think I had ever been so scared in my entire life. And so I was on the phone to my communications director, Joe, and I said to him, Joe, 5 questions, that's it, cut them off. Do not leave me hanging. Because I knew with each question that came, it was one more chance that I would screw up, and that Wisconsin's first impression of me on their nightly news would be just that. And so I took 10 deep breaths. I opened up the car door, and all I did was focus on walking up that sidewalk, projecting confidence. But in my mind, all I was thinking is, what the hell have I gotten myself into? I grew up believing I could do anything, but I also was brought up to work hard, to be independent, not to ask for help, and definitely not to be out there tooting my own horn. That's what you do when you campaign. Every single day for 13 months, I was out there tooting my own horn and telling people why I was the best person to move this state forward. And the stuff that candidates do, giving speeches, meeting strangers, cold calling people you don't know and asking for money, are things that are just not something I even like to do. And every single day that I stood out there, I was scrutinized. They talk about how you look and how you sound and what you wore, and make up a whole lot of things that aren't true. But every single day, I just had to go out there and I had to be positive. I didn't even like public speaking. I got so nervous those first few months that I would get this condition called dry mouth. And I couldn't even make it through a 2-minute interview or a speech without completely losing my voice. I never even liked having my picture taken, much less being the center of attention. And I definitely didn't have thick skin. I was a perfectionist, and the constant criticism I knew wasn't going to be easy. But somehow I felt that deep down, if I could get elected, I'd be a really good governor. 6 generations of my family have lived in Wisconsin, and I am just one proud cheesehead. So no matter how I felt every day, I'd just go out there and try to be confident that I was the best person to be running this state. Because if I didn't feel and sound and look like I believed it, no one else would. I was in the fight of my life. And it took me every single day for 6 months to start to feel comfortable being out there, being a candidate, being confident about who I was and my capabilities. Believing in yourself, it's a superpower. It really is. But you don't get there alone. You get there by other people believing in you. And from the very start, I had an enormous amount of support. It was other people who saw a governor in me before I saw a governor in myself. And everywhere I went, there were people who were supporting me. And every time I stumbled, there were people who helped me back up. And never, never was this more important than the day after the election. I felt like I had been hit by a Mack truck. For 13 months, I had spent every waking moment focused on this one thing. And I had come up short. Not only did I lose, but I felt I had disappointed hundreds of thousands of people who had put their hopes and their dreams in me. They had given me money. They had worked hard and volunteered. I didn't know how I was going to go on. I really didn't know how I was going to pick up the pieces. So I decided to go out to a cottage that I have near Spring Green. And I didn't know how long I need to be out there. I knew I didn't want to see anyone. I didn't want to talk to anyone. And I didn't know when I would be able to do so. So I decided to stop at the grocery store and sort of get lots of supplies. What I hoped was that no one would recognize me. For months, there were ads all over the TV, most of them bad, that had my face on them. And so I had my hair in a ponytail. I was in sweatpants. I pulled the baseball cap down and I went in. The woman behind the meat counter took one look at me and she's like, "Oh my God, you're Mary Burke." She's like, "I am so sorry." She's like, "I voted for you." And with that, it was like 13 months of pent-up emotion just came streaming down my cheeks. The tears were absolutely uncontrollable. Well, I think I scared her half to death because she runs from behind the meat counter and she takes one look and she's like, "I just have to give you a hug." I went out to the cottage and all I could do that day was just sit there and watch TV. I was so emotionally and physically drained. I didn't take any phone calls. I didn't look at texts. I didn't check emails, nothing. And I think it was about 5 o'clock when I thought, I think I deserve it. And I opened a bottle of wine. And I went back to just watching TV. And a couple hours later, the phone rings. And for some reason, I decide to answer it. Probably the wine. And the woman says to me, "Is this Mary Burke?" And I said, "It is." And she said, "The president would like to speak with you." And I was like, wow. I have to remind you, this was 6 years ago, and it was not our current president. And all I was thinking was, how much of that bottle had I drinking? The next day I woke up and the water, which comes from a well, was broken. So I had no water. The repair people came. They told me that it would be like a week until the parts that could repair it could come. And I realized I had to go back into Madison. And as I thought about it, I thought, I have nothing to be ashamed of. That first of all, I took on a challenge that almost no one in the entire state was stepping up to take on. That second, I did the best job I could possibly have done. I worked my tail off. I did things that I never thought I was capable of doing, and it wasn't easy. The third thing is we defied most people's expectations. I tied the race up, and I had a real shot at winning. And lastly, I became the first, and so far, unfortunately, the only woman in Wisconsin history to win a primary and be on the ballot for governor representing a major party. So I thought, you know what? I can do this. And I went back into Madison, and Madison, being a pretty liberal place and very democratic, was actually a very friendly place to be. Every time I went out, people were thanking me. One day I came out of an office building and I was really late, and I had parked with a meter right on the street. And this was, it was a meter you had to put the coins in, so I couldn't extend the time. And you know in Madison how quickly they write tickets. Well, I had a feeling I would get a ticket. So I was running out there, and as I looked ahead, I saw that there was a parking enforcement guy right next to my car. I was trying to think about what excuse I would use. And as I came up to him, he turns to me and he says, there's only two people in the world I don't write tickets to: my mom and you. So it reminded me that you can bounce back from everything. But it really started with that hug from a stranger in a grocery store. We can really come back, and we can really do anything as long as we have that type of support and encouragement. Every single day of that campaign, it was a battle. I woke up and I knew it wasn't going to be easy. And even some of the days that I thought were going to be the best days, you never, ever knew what was going to be thrown at you. And so I had lots of posters around my office that would give me encouragement. And one of them was this, by Vince Lombardi. And it said, it's not whether you get knocked down, it's whether you get back up. Well, I got knocked down a lot. There were ads on TV that told people that I made my money off of hiring child laborers. I was constantly not good enough in my own eyes. I always thought about what I should have said, how I could have responded better, how I could have looked better. Maybe I should have worn something different. And I came up short of what I set out to do. But what I realized in hindsight is how much I gained. I learned so much. I developed incredible skills. I met amazing people who I will be friends with for the rest of my life. I learned that failing is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of courage, because it meant you took on something that wasn't easy. I also learned that I have no control over what people say or do, especially when they say it about me. But I have 100% control over how I let it affect me. I learned to listen to the positive and just walk away from the haters and the negative people. I learned that relying on others, that interdependence actually is stronger than independence. And it also took running for governor for me to realize that I had played small my entire life compared to my abilities. And it was because I wasn't confident enough to step forward and take on some of the challenges and get out of my own comfort zone. It was other people seeing my own worth, my own potential, that made me step into that race for governor. And in the end, it was because no one else was stepping up. But I wasn't always that way. When I was growing up, I was pretty bold. Like in high school, teachers wrote in my yearbook that the CEO of IBM, which at that point was the largest company in the world, better watch out. In business school, I had a friend who described me as that woman who, if it was 200 years ago, would be out in the wild, wild west, fending off attackers with a gun in one hand and a baby in the other. But once I got out there into the real world, little by little, unconsciously, I think I started to try to conform to what people thought I should be, or what I thought people thought I should be. And for women, that's not being the bold, aggressive, ambitious person that I was. And so little by little, I changed. And growing up, I had been largely shielded from that. This is a picture of my dad. He was my role model. He's the founder of Trek Bicycle. And he told me that I could do anything as long as I worked hard at it. But then I got professional feedback that said I did a fantastic job and everyone liked me. But I was a little intense and maybe I should tone it down. And as a perfectionist, I started to judge my own self by my shortcomings and what I needed to improve on, than really focusing on my strengths. And I got into my 30s and I wasn't married. And I started to wonder what was wrong with me. And I started to change. I started to tone down. And in the prime of my career, what should have been the prime of my career, I stayed in a job for 9 years that, while important, had no upward mobility. I could have done it in my sleep. And because I was an ambitious person, I focused on my golf game and being a scratch golfer. In hindsight, I wondered, where did that young woman go? The one who was going to fearlessly stake out new territory. When I ran for governor, I had to be pulled into that race. I had to be asked over and over and over again. And historically, that's been the case for women running for office. And luckily, that's changed in the last few years. But whether it's running for office or it's job promotions, women have to be asked over and over and over again and convinced by others that it's the right thing for them to do. And none of it has to do with qualifications, but it has everything to do with the fact that unconsciously, we don't feel comfortable doing it. Standing up there and having the attention focused on ourselves. So much of what holds us back is not whether we're capable, but what people will think. And as human beings, we have that deep, deep need to feel accepted. And that happens usually by conforming, and conforming to what other people think. It's how we speak. It's how it's the choices we make. And in running for governor, I had to step out there and I had to be bold. I had to step out of what most people or a lot of people want women to be or how they act. And when I did, I realized that's actually sort of the person I am. And I rediscovered that core of me. And so while it was tough losing and the stuff that they say about me will live on the internet forever, it was the best decision I've ever made. And I would do it over and over again because finally I found and accepted who I really am, that I am bold, that I like being a leader. And it's what inspired me to decide to try to make the world a better place for girls and women. I like to show this slide because this was, I'd love to say all the people were there for me. And they were, they have Burke for Wisconsin signs. But this was a rally that was held in Milwaukee with, I think, 4,000 people with President Obama. So I was the lead up speaker to him. And he came to Wisconsin and did a rally with me. Twice, Michelle Obama came. And those moments, those are really special moments that I will always cherish. But if it wasn't other people who dragged me out of my comfort zone, I would have never, ever gotten that chance. So after running, after losing, I read this book called The Confidence Code. And The Confidence Code is written by two women. They were both journalists. Claire Shipman was with, I think, ABC News, and Katty Kay with BBC America. And what they talk about is the role that confidence plays in our lives. Confidence is the belief in our abilities and ourselves. Competence is our actual abilities. And what they show, the research that they mention in the book, is that confidence has a bigger impact on our lives than competence. Think about that. Think about how much time we spend building our skills and our knowledge, when the impact is actually greater on just believing in them. Now, I'm sure you see it in your classes every single day, maybe a little different with Zoom, maybe not. I see it in meetings. There will always be someone in that meeting who I know has amazing ideas and knows a lot, but they never speak up and share those ideas. And likewise, there's always that person in the meeting who just talks as if they know everything. And you know they don't. But you look around and people are nodding their heads. That's confidence. If we don't believe enough to share our ideas and who we are, it holds us back. The other thing they show in the book is the difference between men and women. So for men, on average, their belief in their abilities is much higher than their actual abilities. And for women, it's lower. No difference in abilities, but big gap in how we see ourselves. I remember sharing this research with a guy that I know. And he looked at me and he said, well, I don't believe that. And I said, well, of course, that's what the research shows. I said, it even shows in how men and women go after jobs. I said, what it shows that women, when they go after a job, will look at every single job qualification. And if there's just one or two boxes they don't check, they won't go. They'll say, oh, I'm not ready. I don't meet all the qualifications. I'm not going after it. But men, if they just check half the boxes, they'll go. And my friend said to me, he says, well, I don't even read the job qualifications. And I thought, what an idiot. I can't believe that. 2 weeks later, another guy said the exact same thing to me. And that's when the light went off. Of course. Why not just go after it? Decide if it's something that you really want. And don't let other things hold you back, because the worst thing that can happen is they say no. And you will never know what you may learn from that experience and how you might grow. And so this role of confidence is really important. And that undermining of our belief in ourselves starts when we pop out of the womb. We are not born that way. We are born equally confident. But what happens is, little by little, those expectations and that conditioning of who we should be or who we shouldn't be starts to creep in. Research has shown that girls as young as 5 believe boys are smarter. It's in middle school that girls start to believe they don't belong in the STEM fields. And by high school, most girls believe they're valued more for the way they look than for their abilities. And so we have to start changing this dynamic. It's each one of us in what we do every single day. And we need to find others and community that supports us. So one of the stories that I think about is about this white tiger named Mohini. And this is a real story. Mohini was given as a gift to President Eisenhower in the United States in 1960. At that point, there was no place to put the tiger other than the National Zoo in Washington, D.C. And at that time, tiger cages were just that, a cage. It was a 12-foot by 12-foot cage with iron bars on it. And immediately, Mohini was a huge, huge attraction, tourist attraction, and hundreds of thousands of people came to see her. She was the only white tiger outside of Asia at that point. Well, people realized that they really should have a better place for Mohini to stay. And so they started building a natural habitat that mimicked her natural habitat. And it was a couple of acres, and it had water and vegetation and everything you'd hope a tiger would want. Certainly much better than the cage that she was in. So the big day came, and they released her into her new habitat. And immediately, Mohini went straight to the closest wall. And for the rest of her life, she never left a 12-foot by 12-foot area. We call it our comfort zone. It's a cage. And that conditioning that we receive keeps us into an area that just feels comfortable. But it holds us back. And it's getting outside of that cage. Is where we open the door to the amazing potential and possibilities that are out there. And so that's why I started Building Brave. So this is, as I mentioned, a community of women, by women, for women. Because I believe that that community that I found when I ran for governor, that helped me to recognize and see my own potential, is a community that every woman needs. And if you already believe in yourself 100%, then you need to be in that community to help other women see and recognize their own potential, to help them overcome the challenges that they face every single day. And so my vision is to be a global online community of 10 million women who are all connecting, inspiring, and empowering each other every single day. And that's how we change that dynamic, to believe that being ambitious and being bold and being ourselves is okay. And so the way we do that is what all these circles represent is communities within communities. So Building Brave, our design is to be a platform, an online platform for other organizations of women. So any organization that connects women should use our platform so that together we're building on those communities and empowering more and more women. So we started this where we're a community of communities. Last year, about a year ago, we have 9 organizations and companies that are on our platform. We are a nonprofit. We do this for the community good, but these companies pay us a subscription in order for us to not only provide the platform, but to community manage. So Northwestern Mutual has a women's employee resource group, and they use our platform to connect those women in that group. We have Quad Graphics, Madison College. We also have American Family, Dell Computers in the UK, CUNA Mutual, the Chicago Network. So this is a start to that vision of 10 million. But that's how we change the world. That's how we make sure that every woman feels supported. And that's why my belief is in community, we thrive. And what you're doing with the aspiring educators and connecting with each other around a common mission and journey is just that type of empowerment. And so I applaud what you're doing, not only in pursuing teaching and education, but that you join groups like this of others who will help you when the road gets tough or when you may start to doubt yourself. Because with others behind you, there's nothing that you can't do. So Sophia, I don't know if there's questions or time for questions.
Yeah, we have some time for questions. If anyone has questions, if you want to either unmute yourself and ask a question or type it into the chat, I'll be happy to read it. But thank you so much for speaking. And that was, yeah, it was amazing. Thank you so much. The little claps.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah,
I have to be honest, this was my first Zoom speech, if you call it that. So I appreciate your patience. If I will say it's easier to do in person, but
I agree. The public speaking online.
You're a wonderful audience.
I got goosebumps. I'm so glad you were able to come today. It really means a lot for all of us. Yeah.
Cool.
So it doesn't look like there's any questions. I don't think so. But again, thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. So excited to have you.
Great. Well, thanks, everyone. Thanks, Sophia. And be well, be safe.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You as well.
And then
Thank
we have
you.
some club announcements. So if everyone wants to stay on for a little bit, that'd be great.
I'm getting to the slideshow. Just give me 1 second, everybody. All right, can somebody give me a shout out that you can see this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yep.
There we go. So we just have a few announcements before we go. We already did Mary. All right, in the field.
That's me. Well, I am a TikTok phenom. I can spend hours on that. So I've provided some links of some of my favorites. This one, I swear, when she sings this, it's so funny. I'll show this one. Oh, just kidding. I can't click on it. Sienna.
So,
Can you
okay. I'm going to
just-
show how lame I am. I don't have a TikTok account, so if I click on it, will it still work?
I think it should. It should.
Okay. Okay.
When you get the slideshow, you can definitely click through them. I'm always looking for more teacher TikToks. These are just some of my favorite ones. So I thought I'd provide. You can learn so much from this. This made me laugh. This one's just fun. Thanks, Sienna.
Is there some? Oh, I'm so sorry.
Loyalty and know that ain't no cap.
Oh my God.
Checkered vans and hoodies, ripped jeans complete the fit. I'm CEO of Rolling Eyes and Sarcastic Wit. You can confiscate my ceiling darts, my tech deck, and my phone. But if you crease my Air Force Ones, I'll cut you to the bone. Oh goody, it's 6th period, so time to spill the tea. I wasn't even talking, Stu. She always picks on me. My boyfriend wears my scrunchie because we fell in love last week. JK homeboys canceled because he broke our Snapchat streak. I spend half my time in math class renegading in my chair, and there's stickers on my hydro flask to add a little flair. Can't hear you through my AirPods because I guess I don't speak broke. You gross, my teacher's rapping now. It's like she thinks she's woke.
So I hope that made you laugh. That's my teacher of TikTok, or in the field.
That was great, Mary.
Thanks.
I was like in the corner. Oh, I love teacher TikTok. Okay, I'm pretty sure I'm next. Yes, in the world. Wait, can you go back really quick?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, you're totally fine. There's just a quote that kind of summarizes the whole thing. So there's no doubt that Red for Ed reestablished teachers as heroes and that they are underpaid and underappreciated, which is the theme of the next slide. So here below the nea.org/advocating for change, I highly suggest that you guys go visit that article on your own time. The image above is included in the article, and it just shows, depending on the state, educators make between 2 to 33% less than other comparable college educated workers. And the reason I included this is I just think it's really important to be aware of potential injustices that you could face going into our profession, and knowing that it's important to educate yourself on those kind of things and how to be active in trying to change those policies and changing people's perspectives and basically getting what we deserve. Like, teachers are so hardworking and we do so much for our students, and we have to advocate for them, but also advocate for yourselves as teachers. New Jersey is where it's at. So yeah, I just included that just to kind of encourage you guys to, I guess, educate and advocate for yourselves as teaching professionals. So that's my in the world, but it's actually just in America right now, but yeah.
In Madison, that's me. So there's not much going on in Madison right now, as you can probably suspect. But I found this cool event. If any of you nannies kids or have kids of your own or have younger siblings, this is a free event. It's called Cool School. And basically kids can like get their instruments and jam with this music educator, which I think is kind of cool. They do accept donations, and then apparently a link will be provided on Facebook for the event. So I'm not quite sure if any of you has any relation to any kids, but if you do, you can pass this information on. Outreach.
Yes. So this weekend and next weekend, you can phone bank for WEAC, and it is joining WEAC members in our Election Day of Action, reminding other WEAC members to request and return their absentee ballots, vote early in person, and cast their ballots on Election Day. I am working a shift this Saturday, and I'm super excited for it, and it's a good way to reach out to other WEAC members and have union participation. So I'm super excited, and you should do it too. Click the link for all the information, and you can sign up for either the 24th or the 30th.
New fundraiser, new month. This week or this month, it's going to be trivia. So November 20th, which technically is the day that Madison is done in-person classes. So I don't know if you're going home, whatever your plans are, get a team together, $5 per person, and you can get non-teacher friends. It's going to be one of the most fun trivias there can be. It's going to be a 2000s category. So like, it'll be like, name that picture, and it'll be like a picture of silly bands. Well, that's my hint for one of the questions. It's silly bands. The QR code on the bottom right-hand corner is the sign up. Yeah, and they're going to be door prizes for first, second, and third place. So if your winning team wins, maybe you can buy like a round of fries.
Thanks, Mary.
Oh, yes, this is another thing. I want to get clothing ideas out for the holiday season. So I'm thinking this year of doing a couple apparel items. So that'll say Aspiring Ed, but then I was thinking of a cute, fun teacher shirt. So if you have any ideas for either, like you have been on Etsy and you're like, oh my goodness, I want everybody to get this shirt, send those ideas too, or any like logos that you want on the Aspiring Ed shirt.
Updates and announcements.
Oh, PDI, my favorite thing. Just kidding, this is not
Yeah, this is just the voting information. If any of you need more, I guess, information on your voting, this can give you a ton of resources for you to access.
A one-stop shop, if you will. All right, Mary, take it away.
I'm sorry, the blues got me. I thought I saw the same thing. Anyways, professional development is November 7th at 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Now, it is free and only accessible for WEAC members. And if you are a WEAC member, I highly recommend going. I was talking to someone from a local chapter. They're about to student teach probably, and they're having a lot of online issues. So since there's a WEAC member, they are going to log in and go to 2 sessions. They are going to the nuts and bolts of using Google Part 1 and the nuts and bolts of using Google Part 2. So I'm going to be honest. This is my role on the state board, is like helping plan this event. Even if you can only log on and go to 1 session, I'm sure that 1 session will be extremely beneficial for your education career. I went to early educator roundtable. That's going to be super fun. That's going to be talking with first-year teachers. And we're bringing back, I don't know if any of you remember, Victoria and Sam Chase. So UW is really represented, if I'm just putting it out there. So sign up for PDI, even if you only spend like an hour online, it's still an hour of information.
And this is the same event as but different because it's online. But like if you guys remember from years past, the PDI that happened in November, this is the same event, just smushed down for online. And Mary's been working really hard on it because she's the state board person that is putting it all together. So thanks, Mary.
Oh, last thing, Duff claims that the head speaker of this event will give you goosebumps. He's talking about how to include Native Americans in your classroom. And apparently he's super good.
Oh, book club. I think
Yes.
this is Mary too.
I just got so excited. This is a non-aspiring educator thing, but this is for people who want to be in a book club that reads about education books. So to help further our knowledge on how to be better teachers. So our first ever book is We Want to Do More Than Survive. The Abolitionist Teaching and the Pursuit of Educational Freedom. The first meeting is November 17th. It will be after the Aspiring Educators meeting and will not be associated with aspiring educators. Like, does that make, and I was gonna say good snacks will be provided. I don't know why I have that. This will be virtual. I did not think about that. I'm really embarrassed that I put that in there.
Well, we'll just say you can eat good snacks while participating.
Yes, and my mom's in a book club and sometimes she doesn't read the book, but she still shows up because like she wants to learn more about the topic. So I'm just really interested to hear about like discussions of how we feel about this book. But feel free to come even if you don't read the book.
And Mary, is the intention that the whole book is read by November 17th or just a part?
Read what you can. I was recommended this book in one of my classes. Like my teacher was going on and on about it. So I was like, now I want to read it. And this gives me an excuse to read it.
I see. All right, mentor program. So those of you that have signed up for mentor program, thanks for patiently waiting. You will have your mentor or mentee by this Friday. So watch for an email from the Aspiring Educators email with either your mentor or your mentee. Mentors, when you get this email, please reach out to your mentee within a week, just saying hello, introducing yourself, giving your mentee an opportunity to introduce themselves, and maybe set up a Zoom meeting or do a socially distanced meeting, whatever you're comfortable with. If you have any questions, I put my email on the slide. Please email this email if you have questions about the mentor program. But if you email the Aspiring Educators program, Aspiring Educators email, that's fine too. But yes, watch for an email about the mentor program. Mentor program will be in the subject line, so you'll know what it's about. Also, if you didn't sign up for the mentor program but are interested in it, you can go back in your past emails to look at past slides about what it's about. But if you want to join, I'm saying tonight's the last night. You got to sign up by tonight. Okay. Any questions? Let me know.
Yep, so this is our fall schedule. Our next meeting is going to be November 3rd, so we hope to see all of your beautiful faces then. And then I think, Sienna, if you go to the next slide, I think that's it. It should just have our socials. Shout out to Jenna, our PR coordinator. Our Instagram's been popping. I watch the stories all the time, and I feel like I'm just getting more and more woke, to be as cheesy as that sounds. There's a lot of informative education stuff on it. So please check it out because I check it every single day and it's really fun. I think that's it. Thank you everyone who came to the meeting. I hope you all learned a lot. And I look forward to seeing everyone in 2 Tuesdays. If you guys have any questions or anything, please feel free to stay on. The e-board will be on here for a little bit. Other than that, you guys are free to go. Thank you all so much.